Assalamu alaikum, that everyone, by the grace of Almighty Allah, and as you know well, that Islamia Girls College, by the magnanimous strengthening of our remarkable educational organization, Anjumane Islamia, has arranged online lectures to communicate and connect the students with their studies continuously as per these contingent circumstances. So, this is Nabila Munir here with you. Let's start. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Dear students, by the kindness of Allah, you could be all right. And on behalf of Islamia Girls College, I would like to warmly welcome all of you hither. At present, be attentive please to perceive a compendious introduction to biology, book 2, published by Balochistan Textbook Board, Quetta. It is mainly comprised of 13 chapters that illustrate the basic characteristics of both animals and plants. Homeostasis is the first chapter of this book. The word homeo means like and stasis means standing. The maintenance of a constant internal environment is called homeostasis. There are three elements of homeostasis. The osmoregulation is the first element of homeostasis. The maintenance of constant osmotic pressure in the fluids of an organism by the control of water and salt concentrations. This diagram shows the process of osmosis. Osmosis is important both in plants and animals. Osmosis is related with the movement of water molecules through a partially permeable membrane. The water molecules always move from higher water concentration towards lower water concentration. The second element is excretion. This is the disposal of nitrogen containing waste, or it is the process of expelling metabolic waste matter. And thermoregulation. Thermoregulation is a process that allows your body to maintain its core internal temperature. Support and movement. In this chapter, we gain information about the supporting tissues in plants and animals. The living organisms need to maintain their structure some supporting tissues or systems. These supporting tissues or systems in plants are in the form of collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and parenchyma. In plants, the secondary growth plays a very important role to provide a strength to the plants. The secondary growth takes place by the division of meristematic cells or lateral meristems like cambium. In animals, the skeleton system provides structure and protection to the animals. The movement in plants, the movements of higher plants are chiefly in form of bending, twisting, elongation of certain plants, and this movement is different from animals. The animals can change their place while the plants cannot. This is the diagrammatic representation of three basic types of plant tissue. The parenchyma tissue, which are thin-walled and living. Collenchyma tissue, these are thin-walled and living tissues, and these can be found in cortical region of plants. Sclerenchyma tissue, these are dead tissues when they attain their maturity. Cell division in the cambium is shown here to understand the secondary growth. Due to the activation of vascular cambium, the secondary xylem and secondary phloem are formed. In this diagram, you can see skeleton of different animals and man. This diagram shows the tropic movement of plants. These movements control by the direction of the stimulus. Thigmotropism, it is response to touch. Hydrotropism, it is response to water. Phototropism, it is due to the light. Geotropism, it is due to force of gravity. Chemotropism, it is in response to chemicals. Nastic movement, in this movement the direction of stimulus is not fixed and it is a type of rapid movement. Coordination and control. In this chapter, we gain knowledge about the working of different systems in a single plant or animal body. How these functions are coordinated with each other and how these are controlled. In human or animals, these functions are controlled by nervous system and brain, while in plants, the major functions are controlled by auxins or hormones. In this chapter, we also study about the defense mechanism of plants against pathogens, role of growth substances in the plants, coordination in animals, human nervous system, and different types of hormones in men. This is a diagram of a typical neuron cell, which is a structural and functional unit of nervous system. Reproduction is the 18th chapter of this book. It is the biological process by which new generation of individual of the same species are produced. There are two main types of reproductions in plants and animals: asexual reproduction and sexual mean of reproduction. The offsprings which are produced by the process of sexual mean of reproduction, they are most resistant and they have genetic variation in their selves. In this chapter, we also study about the process of photoperiodism and vernalization. In plants, photoperiod and temperature affects the flowering, fruit and seed production, bud and seed dormancy, leaf fall and germination. This diagram shows the process of photoperiodism in plants. In different organisms, the capacity to produce new individuals without fertilization by a process called parthenogenesis, and this diagram shows the process of parthenogenesis. The 19th chapter is growth and development. The growth is an increase in the amount of living material in an organism, or the growth as the permanent and irreversible increase in size that occurs in an organism, while development is the series of changes in zygote, or development could be described as an increase in complexity. A meristem is a group of cells which retain the ability to divide by mitosis, producing daughter cells which grow and form the rest of the plant's body. There are three types of meristem located at the stem and roots, and these are apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and lateral meristems. In this chapter, we also study about the growth correlation and regeneration also. The chromosomes and DNA. This is the chapter in which we study about the genetic material, which is DNA and chromosomes. A chromosome is a DNA molecule with part or all of the genetic material of an organism. And in this chapter, we also study about the Watson and Crick model of DNA. The Watson and Crick were awarded Nobel Prize in 1962 for their model of DNA. The transcription and translation, these are the processes which are involved in the process of protein synthesis. And in this chapter, we also get information about the sudden and permanent changes which are called as mutations. And here you also can see a diagram which shows the replication process in DNA. Cell cycle. In this chapter, we study about the two main types of cell divisions, which are mitosis and meiosis. And first we discuss about the meanings of cell cycle. The activities of dividing or growing cells can be described as cell cycle or life cycle of cell. In this chapter, we also get some information about the major diseases which are caused by the disjunctioning of chromosomes. These are the diagrams which show the phases of cell cycle. Variation and genetics. Genetics is the science of heredity. In genetics, we study about the transference of inheritable characteristics. The Mendel is called as the father of genetics. In this chapter, we study the main two laws of Mendel's, which are called as law of segregation and law of independent assortment. The individuals of a species have similar characteristics, but they are rarely identical. The difference between them is called variation. Biotechnology. Biotechnology is used to manipulate living organisms and biological systems to produce products, or it can be defined as the use of biological knowledge for the welfare of mankind. Evolution. A slow, gradual developmental changes in living things over a long span of time is called evolution. And these characteristics are the expressions of genes that are passed on from parent to offspring during reproduction. The ecosystem is 25th chapter of this book. A system that includes biotic and abiotic factors functioning together as a unit is called ecosystem. An ecosystem is made up of plants, animals, microorganisms, rocks, water sources, and the local atmosphere interacting with one another. Here, the diagrams which show the food chain and the interaction of living and non-living things. Some major ecosystems. In this chapter, we study about the major types of ecosystems. This is divided into two main types: the aquatic ecosystem and terrestrial or land ecosystem. The aquatic ecosystem have two types: the freshwater ecosystem and brackish or saltwater ecosystem, while the terrestrial type of ecosystem is divided into forest ecosystem, grassland, savanna, desert ecosystem, and tundra ecosystem. Man and his environment. This is the last chapter of this book. In this chapter, we study about the interaction of living organisms or man with their environment. In this chapter, we study about the different types of habitats which the different organisms use for their shelter. There are a lot of resources upon which living organisms depend. In this chapter, we also study about renewable and non-renewable resources, deforestation, different types of pollution, greenhouse effect, and acid rain and ozone depletion. In this diagram, you can see some renewable and non-renewable energy resources.